Hi, it's Nick Shell with Family Friendly Daddy Blog, and I figured today do something different. We're going to take a field trip. We're going to take a field trip to 98 years ago, to the year 1919. We're going to look at some wedding photos of my great-grandparents. Let me go ahead and switch the camera around and you'll see how cool this is. Alright, there we go. So here we have it. This is the 1919 wedding of my great-grandparents. Now on the left, you see there, that is Maria Veit, or Mary Veit, and on the right, you see Giuseppe Metello. So Joe and Mary, Joseph and Mary, yes, just like Jesus' parents, same names. And my great-grandfather there on the right, his age at this time was 28 and a half, and my grandmother was 19. Now, no one's ever said this, or maybe could even prove it, but I'm speculating this was an arranged marriage, just simply based on the years. This was 98 years ago. Again, my great-grandmother would have been 19, and my great-grandfather would have been 28 and a half. Just from that alone, I'm thinking it was an arranged marriage. Now, keep this in mind too, with my great-grandfather, there on the right. When we did the DNA test on my mom's side, it showed that she is something like 15% Jewish and 15% Middle Eastern. And even though they came from Italy and they had Italian names, Metello and Veit, which is actually a Sephardic Jewish name, and that is actually what the DNA test showed, it was Sephardic Jewish. But based on her name being Veit, short for Vitali, which is Sephardic Jewish, by default that means that Joe Metello, Giuseppe Metello, would have been the Middle Eastern, based on just deduction. So based on this picture, I mean, granted, they were already they were integrated into Italian culture and lifestyle, and probably both had been in Italy for a couple of generations, but their bloodline showed otherwise, even though I'm assuming they were Catholic and they spoke Italian. But still, do you see my question? Do you see a Middle Eastern man here? I see it, but do you see it? Now, assuming, again, he'd converted to Christianity, they had integrated into Italian culture and life, but can you see a Middle Eastern man in that? I definitely don't see an Italian man when I see this picture. And when you see this woman, what do you see? Now, in theory, from everything we can tell from the MyHeritage DNA test, she was Sephardic Jewish mainly. But does she look Jewish to you? Via, also Spain and Italian a little bit too, but do you see someone who's mainly Jewish? Now, what I'll do is I'll pan out the camera and we'll look at the groomsmen, because ultimately, I mean, is this a guy that could be of Middle Eastern descent? Could these guys? Now, when I say Middle Eastern, it's easy to think Iran or something like that, but it could have been Turkey. They could have been of Turkish descent. And do these women, do they look like they could be Jewish, Sephardic Jewish to you? These two, I could see it. I don't know. So it's interesting, and these women, in theory, would. I don't know. That's what we've got to go on. This is a 98-year-old photo of my great-grandparents who came here from Italy, and again, my great-grandfather would have been arguably mostly Middle Eastern, and my great-grandmother would have been arguably mostly Sephardic Jewish. Now, I've got a couple more pictures before I end this video. This is a closer shot of their wedding photo, just them. Again, going back to the arranged marriage, I mean, if that's your wedding day, and I get it, this is the year 1919, you have to wait forever, but that's the look on your face at your wedding. He's happy, but again, going back to Middle Eastern, can't you see it? I totally see a Middle Eastern man. I don't see an Italian man. I see a Middle Eastern man right here, who, again, had been part of Italian culture. His bloodline was Middle Eastern, but culturally he was Italian. And same thing here. She was culturally Italian, but Sephardic Jewish as far as ethnicity goes. So to me, this really proves, when I see this, I just don't see an Italian couple. But I want to know your opinion on it. And then lastly, he fought in World War I, and this was, I guess, him in uniform. So what do you see? What ethnicity do you see when I show you these pictures? So, you know, we're going off a DNA test from MyHeritage, but we're also going off of speculation here. The year 1919, we've got arguably Sephardic Jewish great-grandmother and an arguably Middle Eastern grandfather. And an arguably arranged marriage, if you ask me. So, this was, on the left again, that's Maria Veit, who married Giuseppe Mettello in the year 1919, when she was 19 years old and he was 28 and a half. Please tell me what you think, because I don't know. I'm so far removed from this to really understand what traits I'm looking at as far as ethnicity goes. Are we truly looking at an Italian wedding that ultimately, ethnically, was Jewish and Middle Eastern, but Christianized by the time they had settled in Italy for a while? Tell me what you think.